Big up yourself, graduates. Walk on, walk on. I can see you all. Let me just pin this message right away before we get started. Let me just see who is present in class. Yes, man. I am here. Big up yourself, Dawn, Marencha. Big up yourself, Valerie, Gloria. Big up yourself, gal so nice. Well, go on, Jeanette. Good evening, Gloria. Big up yourself, Joycey, Ro. I see you. Yes, Vanessa Grant. Good evening, my member. Good evening. Listen, tonight we're gonna have a nice little discussion. Yes, take our minds away from the nonsense on social media. Sorry, my clothes are blow up the fan on. And the fan is rather powerful, but it is too hot, people. And I literally cannot turn the fan off because it is just too hot, right? So yes, a very interesting topic tonight. I'm asking you to like up the live and to share it because after all, it shouldn't just all about be passa passa. Sometimes we have to educate ourselves. And I think this session is going to be extremely informative and interesting. Okay. And it's time for us to reflect on what has become a cultural norm in Jamaica, right? Now, it's interesting that DMG had touched on this subject briefly in one of her lives because when I recently visited Jamaica, it's one of the things that I noticed was prevalent all over the streets. Everybody seemed to be covered head to toe, be it in balaclava, in gloves, long sleeve tops, your socks, shoes, in at the sun hut, and I was there dying in the heat. I couldn't quite understand it until I took a look at the only visible part on their faces, which was usually the eyes. In seeing that, I understood that their color was what was more significant than their comfort. It wasn't about protection from the heat, it was about the possibility of reversing the process of bleaching their skin. There were so many. And when I say so many, I couldn't even count. The sad part of it was that the people whom I witnessed carrying out this practice very obviously all seemed to be below the income brackets. It seemed to be a thing that I noticed amongst poor people, amongst people on the streets. It was not something that I noticed the higher up I went, or at least it wasn't done in the same way or as aggressively. Because who's to say if people in middle class and upper class don't bleach? It's just that it's not done in the way that I saw it being done aggressively in the poorer side of our culture. So I really wanted to explore where the idea of bleaching came from. And I wanted graduates for us to really understand that there are certain different processes involved when it comes to bleaching and certain different mindsets involved, that it's not just about the historical origin anymore. All right. So big up yourself. This is not about we're gonna tear down bleachers. It's not about that. But it really is about understanding what it is that we're doing to our bodies and what it is that it's reflecting in terms of our mental state, our perceptions of beauty. And it's interesting, but I'm gonna run a little experiment with you guys first. Let me just put this on because I don't want any distraction. I'm gonna run a little experiment with you. First of all, let me just make sure me heal up everybody else who they in the building. Right. Okay. So Jenny, big up yourself. Stacy McDonald, good evening. Social spectator, hi. Suzette Bennett, big up yourself. Bro Shaka, blessed love, blessed love. Bam bam. Howdy, howdy. Right. And let me see who else I'm missing. Ree and Claudia. Yes, it is very sad indeed. Ashley Bell, big up yourself. Hi, Rowena, what's up? Yes, indeed, you catch a live. Chip, Loseth, salutes and blessings. Right. So we're gonna go into it. And let's not jump the gun. I know that the word self-hate is definitely going to be something that is high on the agenda, but I'm going to show you alternate perspectives here. Okay. Whereas unfortunately, what we of the people of the belief that black skin is beautiful and so on, because some of us were very Pan-African, pro-black and all of that. We may be thinking a particular way, and we're thinking along the lines of enslavement as a result of colonialization. And colonialization, as you know, and for those who don't know the big word, is when white man used to run things. When basically we had plantations in Jamaica, and the slave master was considered next to God. And all of us are thinking it's a self-hate thing coming from there. You are not wrong, but it has evolved. So we're going to explore the full timeline of this so that it is clear exactly what the historical background is, but we're going to take it into another level where we look at the whole concept of identity. Okay? All right. So, first of all, I'm sure you see the quotation that I have on my screen. I love my car, I love my bike, I love my money and thing. But most of all, I love my browning. Now, I'm going to ask in the chat, how many of you, be it that you are female or male, found these lyrics offensive? If you found these lyrics of Buju Banton's song Browning offensive, I would like you to put yes in the chat. So if you found these lyrics offensive, I would like you to put yes in the chat for me, please. If you did not find them offensive, I would like you to put no in the chat for me, please. Work with me. Carry a late, but the question is, if you found the lyrics offensive, put yes. If you found the lyrics not offensive, put no. Okay? If you found it offensive, put yes. If you did not find it offensive, put no. Interesting. So the majority are saying no, not offensive, not offensive. Okay. Yep. No, no, no. All of you are saying no. Interesting. No, 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 no. Not one person found it offensive. No, no. All right. Bolipa no. Okay, no. Fear no. All right. Okay. Bro, Shaka the answer kill you, but the answer for go kill you for now. Remember, say me just come back from holiday. I'm gonna ask another question now. Looking at this image here, I'm gonna share it. Give me a thumbs up when you see this picture. You've got two pictures here, one of which is a Senegalese model. Another, of course, is the famous Beyonce. Everybody knows Beyonce, right? We're going to call Beyonce A, and we're going to call the Senegalese model B. I'm going to ask you, graduates, to indicate to me, out of A and B, I don't want to hear about your personal preference now, I want to hear out of A and B, A being Beyonce, B being the Senegalese model, which of these two women Do you think the average Jamaican considers to be more beautiful? A or B? Put it in the chat. Big up yourself, Linda G. Bless. I see you. Zenergy 806, my member. Big up yourself. All right. A or B? A, Beyonce, or B, the Senegalese model? Which of these two do you think the Jamaican society would consider to be more beautiful? I never said for yourself. Listen to the question. Chip, no, you can't. Jamaicans will say A. Absolutely. A. Angie, you think Jamaicans would choose B, really? That is it. That is it. A. All right. Correct. Very much so. A, brown and pretty. Chip, you know that you're a troublemaker. Be serious in a class. This is not a idle class. Listen. Behave yourself. A. Okay. All right. Good. I'm going to stop that share. I'm going to share with you something else. Now take a look at these two. These are two men. Okay? These are two men. Which of these two men would be considered to be the desired type of male? Is it A or is it B? Just purely based on features, complexion, shape of the nose, the lips. Yes? A or B. So look at the two men, A or B. And I don't want none of the man them I say about them, oh, them not go choose, because the man no look for a man. Based on the Jamaican society, which of these two would be considered more desirable? Chip, Chip, so me I go mute you. You not behave. A or B would be considered more desirable, right? Based on based on the Jamaican society. A or B. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. B, majority B so far. B, B, and B. Wolipa B. Mm-hmm. Wolipa B. Yes. Yep. All right. I think that the point is proven. Bro Shakaseba left that one alone. Okay, so I think that proved the point, right? Now, interestingly, out of the two models in the second picture, the two male models, A, which was the darker model, earns far more than B. A in European continents is considered exotic, and the contrast of his skin against fashion is considered a plus. So he gets a lot more contracts and a lot more work. Interestingly, in our country, B would be considered more desirable. And that is actually true. As much as you are a small sample of the island, you are reflective of the mentality and the concepts of beauty that take place there, right? But I want to tell you this. None of it's your fault if this is the kind of thing that you would say, yes, I prefer that person. I prefer Beyonce, or I prefer that brown guy there. None of it is your fault. But to continue having it as a concept that this one is more beautiful than the other, because in fact, they are in fact equally beautiful. I chose two beautiful women, just of different complexion, right? Two handsome men, just different complexions. And it's interesting how many would say that they would have preferred the light skinned one to the dark skinned one and don't even understand why that is. So I'm going to talk to you about something called the William Lynch syndrome. I'm going to speak to you about a speech that came from the 18th century, right? In the peak of slavery. Now, if you've never heard of William Lynch, you're going to hear about him now. All right. And I'm going to read to you William Lynch speech. I'm going to take my face away because I want you to focus on my voice and focus on the words that I am going to be saying. Because some of you who have never heard this speech before are going to be shocked. But those of you who have a bit of historical understanding will know exactly where I'm going with this. Okay? All right. So the Willie Lynch letter, it's about the brutal and the inhumane psychology that's behind the slave trade, right? It is about how Southern plantation owners made sure that the business of slavery was preserved because they were constantly losing economically due to either the slaying of slaves or the running away of slaves, and they were considering it a leak in their pockets. And they wanted to find a way to retain slaves on the plantation without having to constantly resort to brutal punishments whenever they said that the slaves acted up. Okay, because all the brutal punishments was having an impact on their capital. They were not making as much money as they wanted to, right? So during the 1700s, the debates had begun with regards to whether or not slavery should be abolished. It was an economically buoyant thing to do. You understand? And Willie Lynch came up with the ultimate divide and conquer psychological way of controlling Black people. Now, I don't think you understand that William Lynch may have penned this in a letter, but he was not the originator of divide and conquer. It's actually divide and rule. And if we were to go really way back into history, this first came from the Romans. The Romans had the concept of divide and rule. Very different nuance between rule and conquer, and I need you to hear the difference. Because when you are rule people, right, you're their leader and they are following you. When you're conquering, you're coming to decimate and destroy. The idea behind divide and conquer was not just to make sure that slaves remained broken, but it was about destroying the identity of the African slave so that they felt that the only salvation they had was to be found in whiteness. I want you to understand that, right? Talk up the things them carry, right? Because you know, say over here, so now go pack up, because I know no passa and gossip. So please like up the live, okay? So the speech I'm going to read by William Lynch was delivered in 1712 on the banks of the James River, okay? Virginia. Gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods of control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boats sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, and look at the close connection between Christianity and this. Pay attention. I saw enough to know your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a slayed slave, and I changed the word from the D word, hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You are not only losing valuable stocks by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profits. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. However, I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. Now, listen to this. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method of controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. And as Bro Shaka mentioned, 400 years later, this method is still working. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size of plantations, status on plantations, attitudes of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves against the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves against the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female against the male and the male against the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are the keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Wow. Well done, Rowena. Have you heard it? So, key to divide and rule was making sure that Black people did not trust each other. They used our differences to make sure that we continued not to trust each other. But more significantly, to make sure that the only people we trusted were the white slave owners. So, by making sure that we were very aware of how different we were from each other, we would then envy and distrust each other. So, attached to this Willie Lynch syndrome was the whole idea of making sure that there was a hierarchy on the plantation. So, they gave the light skinned slaves the house slave jobs. The dark skinned slaves were made to work in the fields. Because they were out in the sun hot, they could stay dark. The light skinned slaves, which they coined them as mulattoes, the mulattoes were considered to be fragile. And because they were mixed with whites, they couldn't stay out in the sun for too long because they'd faint, right? Some of them fainted on purpose, right? So the light-skinned slaves were made to work in the houses. Some of them because they were obviously children that were born illegitimately as a result of a plantation owning parents. Some of them were brought into the household and given easier tasks as a result of that, and few of them were allowed to learn how to read. All of this built distrust between light-skinned people and dark-skinned people. It was all about making sure that we envied each other based on differences. And all the trust were placed in whites. So if you're ever wondering where our mentality comes from, it points straight to colonialization. The idea of dividing us so that we may be segregated for eternity on the basis of difference. Now, is it the same? Is it that being light-skinned gives you privilege as it did in plantation days? I'm going to let you listen to a video of Jamaican people being interviewed in the streets about bleaching. Let me just All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Wow. So as you can see, it really is about what is considered to be more beautiful. And what is considered to be more beautiful is what people accept. It's really about what people think is beautiful because they know that bleaching their skin, in fact, gives you capital advantage. So if you're a brownie, you are more likely to get through. I'm going to show you some stuff on TikTok that when I was going through this research process, I said to myself, mighty God of Daniel, we're really lost as a people. Now, I know some people are asking, I saw Bam Bam's comments asking, why is it that they focused on poor people when it came to bleaching? The reason is simple. Bleaching costs. And the poor really need to be investing in things that generate income rather than depletes their income purely on superficial values. When you think about it, why spend exorbitantly on these creams? Because they're not cheap. And then claim that you are poor. And then you have needs that are not met while you are doing this process. To be honest, the majority of uptown people not really bleach. If you have one or two that does it, it's likely to be for some kind of reason like hyperpigmentation, not because them hate them skin color or them want for, or them things that if them brown them are gonna get through. Because them already uptown. They don't have those barriers to economic buoyancy like the people who live in the postcodes that are not considered to be acceptable sections of society. So they don't have to necessarily alter their physical appearance in order to use it for capital gain. Yes? And you're going to see what I mean. Some people think it's about low self-esteem. I've seen that comment as well. It's not necessarily about low self-esteem in all cases. It really is about one, twisted perceptions of what's considered to be more beautiful, but it's also about how society receives that. And in the environment that they're in, the receiving of light-skinned, light-skinned beauty is a lot more welcoming than dark-skinned beauty. In fact, the higher up the social ladder you go, the more likely you will find natural light-skinned people. And think about the plantation background. Remember, light-skinned slaves were in the house. They were considered better off than dark-skinned slaves. Therefore, they were more desirable. And at the end of the day, more likely to end up with a white partner, more likely to generate more light-skinned children. So they were already pitched against dark-skinned members of their own race. And that still exists today. So when you look at the Jamaican society and how it's built in terms of shadism, a lot more light-skinned people exist uptown. It's not that light-skinned people don't naturally exist downtown, but a lot more are uptown, right? So they are considered to be exotic in terms of color. So if you're a browning in the ghetto, you also have an advantage. Tell me if I'm wrong. So anyway, let me show you some stuff from TikTok. All right. All right. So take a look at this picture. I screenshotted this, right? While I was doing my research because I really wanted to show this. So the video itself was about somebody who was saying bleach art have no money for lunch. And they chose to have the bleaching things rather than to have the lunch money. But I want you to look at the comments that was used, or at least the caption of the video. Can you see that? It says, when you're black, you stay at the back. And this was, as you can see, it received how many likes now? 1,191 likes, 27 comments, 122 favorites. Okay. Um, so they genuinely see that being dark skinned makes you disadvantaged. So it really becomes about it becomes about economics as well as about perceptions of beauty. It's not just about me look better brown. It's about the fact that you get through in society easier. You get more acceptance. You get more opportunities when you are light skinned. That is the mentality that some of these bleachers have. Some of these bleachers have this mindset. It's really sad. Okay. But as much as we are saying it is sad, I want you guys to understand that it is a brutal reality born out of colonialism that still exists in our society. So while they're saying that and with the panlages, that's what a ignorance, what a foolishness. You can't tell the bleacher them this because at the end of the day, if what they're doing is opening doors for them, think about it, You're dark skin and a guy in your community as a woman, and you a guy in the community who have money, nah look for you. And then you start rub, and you start come true, and you turn chrome, and suddenly him find you attractive. What does that tell you in your head? It tells you that whatever it is that you did to alter your appearance, which is to make it lighter, has improved your quality of life. Suddenly you start You can start get money for buy food. You start get money for do your hair, for do your clothes, whatever. Just think about it. So as much as we're saying, oh my God, fully done. What a terrible mindset. You cannot look at somebody who is actually seeing those capital gains as a result of making this choice and tell them that they're stupid to do so because they are gaining in the financial sense more than if they didn't do it. So that's one thing that I saw. Hold on.
From when someone will know a bleach, and no complexion nah reach, on the skin too stubborn, my friend. On no need to go Google on the skin type. Find out what kind of skin on have before no jump go put bleaching cream pan it. Every day when you buy the cream, them I wanna mix. When you start mixing cream them with this one bag of gel. That's why when your skin looks so pitchy patchy and your face full of bump. And every and any ingredients gel together. This alone may I use number 8 CT plus. I'm stop use this for 1 week now and I'm still brown. You don't know what I go on with someone on the skin. When you lift up for someone on the too no.
Hmm. So as you can see, the bleaching industry has taken on other kinds of things in that people have it as an actual profession. People sell bleaching cream for a living, and they rely on the mentality of our people in terms of how we perceive beauty in order to move their products. At the end of the day, they become experimenters of their own products in order to sell them. This is a TikToker who basically sells bleaching cream for a living, and he uses himself as an example of how the product works, how it makes you look better, and so on. And that to me was just an advert of him doing his product. But there's more to it than that, and I'm going to show you how he perceives himself, his own perception of beauty. Um, and you can clearly see that he doesn't consider him when he was young.
Challenge here.
Okay, hold on.
No.
I'm going to just show you this one. And this to me was extremely sad. Because when I saw this, I was like, oh God, he really thinks that he looks better this way. So take a look at this.
You see the challenge here? I want to know if you post the worst picture you took back then. Because some of we don't remember where we are come from, you know. Some of us do not remember where we are coming from. Look at me.
Look at
Look
that.
on this a picture here. Look at me now. Can't believe it. A lot of changes, my friend.
I'll play it again.
See that challenge here? I want to know if you post the worst picture you took back then. Because some of we don't remember where we are come from, you know. Some of us do not remember where we are coming from. Look at me. Look on this a picture here. Look at me now. Can't believe it. A lot of changes, my friend.
Hmm. Now talk the truth. I want to talk the truth. Which one I wanna really and truly think that he looked better as a light-skinned guy? Be honest. Did he look better dark or did he look better brown? Which one wanna prefer, you in the audience? Looking on the guy, which one was considered more handsome to you when he was dark skinned or when he was light skinned? Which one wanna prefer? I know which I prefer. And I would say that he looked better to me dark skin. Indeed, just too maga. Cause me like man with body. Me not like maga man. And him in too maga. That is all. Some good food, so yeah, my banana and some chicken and so would I deal with that, right? But to me, he looked way better dark. His skin looks almost lifeless, light skinned to me. You understand? But there are women out there who would say that this guy looked better brown, chrome, and they would prefer it no matter what. Now, when you see us destroying ourselves like this, and I'm going to answer why I said destroying ourselves, it really sad. Because one of the biggest issues that that has been brought to the attention, right, of the medical boards internationally. And this happened in 2023, when I believe it was in Genoa. Jamaica was a part of this movement. The Jamaican health ministry was a part of this movement to try to enlighten people about, and no pun intended, enlighten people about the dangerous side effects of bleaching. That the majority of bleaching creams included the product mercury, and how mercury can basically destroy your immune system, make you more susceptible to disease. And everybody that was busy intensely bleaching was absorbing all this mercury in their systems. You see how Vibes Cartel look? You see Vibes Cartel, and he has his illness, the Graves' disease. One of the things that he had was chronic kidney disease once, I think. I don't know how far advanced it was, if it was just one infection or what. But that was because his kidneys are working overtime absorbing all these products. And the mercury that's going into their system is a toxin. So the more of it that you put all over your body, the more toxins you're introducing. And as a result, you're breaking down your immune system, and it is only a matter of time before you fall prey to a disease or an illness that your body cannot fight off. In your melanin, in your melanin, your pigmentation, you are able to resist disease by removing it and stripping that melanin away. Using chemicals, you are more vulnerable and susceptible to illnesses. Now, there is no research evidence that says that bleaching leads to skin cancer. There is none. But that is not because it doesn't do it. It's because there has not been enough research actually implemented in the bleaching industry, because it is a Black and ethnic minority problem. So because it's only us, as in dark skin Asians, dark skin Black people who are doing it, and we are considered to be the least priority when it comes to the medical interests of the powers that be, they are not investing in finding out what kind of long-term effects it can have in terms of skin cancer. In fact, it's financially a gain for you to get it, because on you they can experiment on all kinds of medicines and treatments for cancer to the benefit of other races. And that is a fact. When we go out there and we strip ourselves of our color, thinking that we are come true, we are get chrome, we're gonna look better because doors will open, people will think I'm more attractive, I'm better looking. It's because we are buying into the notions of beauty that were passed on to us from slave masters who wanted to divide and conquer you, who wanted to control you, who wanted to twist your head in a way that you saw that white was right. So no matter how it is that you want to spin it, it really is about a failing in your identity. So it may be that, yes, doors open. Yes, yeah, make money. Or yes, people think you look better. But the people who think that you look better are also impacted as a result of colonialism. They're also messed in the head. Let me take a look at some of the comments. Box food Hawaii style is not capital gain in any way, shape, or form. Talk truth. Yes. They're destroying themselves. I care zero about another person's choice. Fair enough. But you know what? It may just land on your doorstep when one of your family members or so become very ill from doing it, or one of your own children decide that they're gonna bleach. At the end of the day, I think that as a community, yes, we can simply say, well, it's your body, it's your choice. But when we see that something is becoming so prevalent in our society, that's actually quite dangerous. If we had that attitude, then hello, then you're just basically saying to your brother, man, it's fine for you to self-destruct. Him a got teeth to keep it up or go back to his beautiful dark skin. Yes, exactly. I don't care either about people's choices, just making a statement. Yes, so people are free to do whatever. You're free to put in fillers in your lips. You're free to tattoo your face. You're free to put in put in bottom, flatten your stomach, shift the fat around and do whatever, put breast in, all of that you're free to do. But all of that is not coming from something that was used to oppress us. All of that is not coming from that. Bleaching is. Bleaching is. The desire to be whiter is coming from that. And that in itself is showing that we are fueling self hatred. We are. Now, it may be that you're saying that, listen, if you do it and it worked for you, thumbs up. Yeah, if you do it and it worked for you, thumbs up. If you do it and you're aware of where it's coming from, even more of a thumbs up. But you are still free to make the choice to still continue doing it. You understand? Nobody that beat you for that. And nobody is judging you in terms of, oh my God, how disgusting. No, but it is worrying. And it is a concern if anybody cares. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we cannot keep embracing this as a normality because it's not normal. It isn't normal to want to bleach your skin out, to look like what you are not. It isn't normal to want to look like an entirely different race, right? Because that is the intention. When you hear them talk on TikTok, all they depend is to call me white. My white. If you want white, then you need to do this and you need to do that, right? Because they know that by becoming this color, things are better for them. So how are we going to tell them not to do it? We can't tell them not to do it, but we can certainly educate you about where it's coming from and what it can do to your health and where it will take you. Because as you get older, you cannot facilitate all of the toxins that you are taking into your body. So it will have to revert at some point. It's going to make you extremely clinically ill. It has to, because your kidneys start to wear down and they cannot absorb all of those toxins that you keep putting in and removing them from your body. So if something else ain't gonna get you, your body's certainly gonna break down and your own immune system is going to suffer. It's only a matter of time. When you bathe yourself from top to bottom, it's not even like say you're doing, hyperpigmented areas, which I can understand because women, when we have hormonal changes, especially after giving birth to children, you will end up with hyperpigmentation as an issue. You will have some parts on your stomach that dark. You will have some parts on your face that dark, and you want to lighten it so that it matches the rest of your skin. In which case, a little bleaching cream for a period of time is really about a medical repair, right? So that you have an even skin tone. But when it goes to the point where you literally wish to change your entire features, look how Michael Jackson, how his nose did start drop off and all him something from plastic surgery, and his skin was so thin that it would easily tear because of all of the bleaching that he was doing, right? I mean, it wasn't bleaching. He was actually, well, it was bleaching, but he was taking tablets to change his color. You understand? And that thinned out his skin. So it made him very fragile. So it could not hold his nose up. Yeah, every time they went in, they would rip tissues and it just never came back. So, you have to really question the mindset of our people when we think that, listen, it's not beautiful to be dark skinned. I hear people still to this day saying, oh, so and so black and ugly. I hear so called educated people referring to others on the basis of their skin color. She black and this and she black and that, as though that's supposed to be an insult. Yeah. And these are likely the people who will go out of their way to alter their physical appearances because they themselves have got all kinds of dysmorphia about what their body looks like, what their features look like. And they try their best to make themselves look like some kind of plastic dolly. You understand? And they're doing that because they're not happy with what them look like and they're not comfortable in their own skin. And then take it and cuss people about it because at the end of the day, they have got insecurities. They're fragile in their identity. I want to raise children who are confident in what they look like, who love their skin, who love the skin they're in, and who appreciates dark skin as beautiful as well as any other. I don't want to bring my children up in a society that thinks it is perfectly fine if you want to change the color of your skin. And if you think that changing the color of your skin is going to make you look better. I mean, I know about or no. Um, that's why you put more emphasis on Black beauty. But how about putting emphasis on just different forms of beauty? Black beauty, white beauty, in between beauty, everybody beautiful. You understand? I don't know if we will ever get to that level of understanding because we still have to divide and rule. We still have to divide and conquer. We still have to divide because even going black skin beauty, dark skin beauty versus browning beauty is a division in itself. And we still fall prey to it. Why not embrace all as different types of beauty, but equally beautiful? Educate, educate, and educate. Hope we will save some of those who are ignorant. Exactly. And we have to keep trying to make people aware of what they're doing to themselves. And also where it came from. Because when I listened to that William Lynch speech, this was another deviant genius like Hitler, if you think about it, right? By creating paranoia and mistrust. Because remember, Hitler used to drop propaganda all over the place so that people would not trust the Jews. So at the end of the day, they knew that by making people not trust each other or to look at other people as different, it was key to ensuring that people did not come together in any kind of unified way. It was important to make sure that they don't trust each other, that they could be controlled. Because if you are apart, you are weak. If you are together, you are strong. And that mindset still continues amongst our people. We look around social media, we see it all the time. Everybody has this tribal mentality where we have to be in a clique and we have to be in a group and we have to belong to a certain section of social media, blah, blah, blah. It is a part of us, very, very, I would say almost impossible to remove from who we are and from our identity. But what we can certainly do is start to break down some of those divisions that are not necessary or that are certainly coming from people who deliberately wanted to see us oppressed, right? Because we were always in tribes, even before slavery. There were tribes in Africa, there's still tribes. You understand? So we always had that tribalism thing where we had to, identify ourselves. It was a part of ensuring our heritage and our cultures were preserved by belonging to a group or a clique. But when it came to hating each other as a result of the differences even within that group, that was made worse through slavery. It just was. And it was done to make sure that we never rose up against oppression and we had no voice. We had no voice. I constantly tell my child of how black and handsome he is. That's very good. It's not that I have hate for the other shades. It's just that the darker shade is most hated by all races. So you feel the need to defend and to celebrate that darker shade. And I totally get that as well. Because it's also about leveling the playing field, right, Bro Shaka? It's about making sure that there are equal opportunities regardless of your skin color. It's funny because I was opening an account with Jamaica National. Um, and from over here because you can do it from here in the UK. And I ended up in a Zoom interview because they have to see you, talk to you about your circumstances, blah blah blah, verify your documents, all of that. And when the screen came on, and the first person that I spoke to was a very, very light skinned girl, and the next person that I spoke to was a very dark skinned girl. And what was interesting was that when I saw the very, very light skinned girl, I was like, okay, one of them typical looks that always in at the bank. That came into my head. Yes. When I saw the dark skinned girl and she was dark chocolate, I was like, oh, she doesn't look like the typical that they would hire in these positions. Why? Because my mind is still screwed. Yes. And I'm aware of those divisions in our society. So actually, when I saw the second girl, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was happy that she was there. You understand? And I was like, once upon a time, this girl would never get this job. And it's the truth. She would never get it. And she was actually very, very good. You understand? Very thorough and everything with all the paperwork and whatever. Right? So at the end of the day, I would say that as a society, we are coming strides from how we were, in that in certain sectors, we do have more of a balance in terms of employment. But those stereotypes still exist even in people's minds, and therefore would still permeate through the workforce. You are still going to have situations where a certain look will get a certain position. You understand? As opposed to a dark skinned girl, no matter how brilliant she is. And the same for men, right? I listened to some TikTok videos where guys were basically saying that, listen, if you're light skinned, all of the girls are gonna like you. So if you want to be a gallus, you have to be a brownie. So in their head, this desire is coming from women as well. So these women are putting those requirements that if you are not light skinned, you're not right. A lot of them still have the mindset that if you're gonna have children with somebody, you want to have children with a lighter skinned guy. But hello, once it's a bleacher, him still dark. So you go breed for your picnic, go come up black same way. You understand? You come up black same way. So it not gonna work. It's something that's embedded in us. Yeah, back in the days, and still to this day in the banks in Jamaica, they would have all lighter skinned women or man as tellers. Yeah, it's not the same anymore. It isn't. I went to Guardian Life, I went to Sagicor, everybody, there's just a melting pot of all kinds of colors in all kinds of positions. So we are improving in our mindset. But as I said, that's in the corporate society. That's those are the people who have the subjects and whatever. But as you go down the ladder, the less educated, the more impoverished, those are the ones that are really clinging on to this concept of being light skinned as a sign of social advancement. They still will sacrifice their daily bread for bleaching cream. You understand? And one guy, the same, no, is a different guy. Actually, see me. Let me show you. He buys the things from the Chinese. Hmm?
To read master
Hold on, let
comments.
me share this with you. He buys the things from the Chinese and sells it. Advertising the
Yeah.
product.
And they're not telling the people how to use the product. You understand? So I have to be Mr. Chin, executive on the street. Why you let your face cleaner than the body? No man, the body will clean, man. Yo. And it's a process, you know. It's a process. And the process is not a fast process. The process is a slow, yeah, and wonderful process. So it starts from the top, come down. So eventually,
And says a slow and wonderful process.
nice within 1 month, yeah, youths them weak, and I recently me start to notice. Oh, no, yeah, you them that.
You heard that comment that he responded to? The person that was commenting on this guy's live was basically saying that his young girls were bleaching using his bleaching cream and had started to experience weakness, and he's only just noticed that they are suffering from some kind of fatigue as a result of using the creams, and he quickly dismissed it, caring zero about the impact of the bleaching cream on the young people that the guy was talking about. Him saying youths them. So and then he clarified in the comments and said his two girls I used the product them and them nah behave normal. And him get rid of that and say him not really business because of people. You understand?
Money movement.
Yes. So that is what is now considered to be the ideal look amongst Jamaican men. All the tattoos, the light skin, skin pretty like a coloring book. Vibes Cartel endorsed this look and still to this day does with all of his tattoos. And his skin the way it is. Remember, he was the one that used to sell cake. He did have a brand of cake soap at one point. Yes, in 2011, if you remember, when him first step out with all them skin bleach out. Um, and he was selling a brand of cake soap. And he is still bleaching to this day. As you can see, his color has not reverted, so he's still using the products. So the look is endorsed by popular culture, by dancehall. And men are more and more looking like this in Jamaica and considering it to be beautiful, but only in the ghetto am I seeing this. I am not seeing this in middle class. I'm not seeing this uptown at all. It's only in the ghetto. Me a see that look here. And the Chinese being in our country and bringing in all these unregulated products are allowed to sell these things. And people are now selling on their behalf. He is one of them, selling on their behalf to the people in the streets. They are unregulated. They are usually full of all kinds of chemicals that are harmful to the body, including mercury. So while we're saying that mina business are everybody choice, we have to learn to be our brother's keepers. You understand me? And raising awareness is all we can do. We can't go to people and say it's not your choice. But we can certainly raise awareness around what is in these creams, how it's going to have an effect on your bodies as you age. Without the melanin in your body and your pigment broken down, you will age faster than if your skin was intact. You will age faster, you will wrinkle faster because your skin is thinner. So it might feel all smooth and nice. No. But as you get older, wait and see what will happen to your bodies. Of course, the government is allowing it. They're not regulating anything, right? Just like how when we go to Jamaica, is hell and powderhouse to find Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke anywhere. It is next to impossible to find a diet drink anywhere because Jamaica is all about diabetes. All of the drinks, they're so high in sugar. It is not a surprise that diabetes is such an onslaught all over the island because the sugar is more or less unregulated. You see, some of those drinks that we import here in the UK, they have to actually change their percentage of sugar ingredients in order to get it through the borders. It's only when we carry things in our suitcase and so we can get that taste. And that's why we always say, say, buy true juice here and it not taste the same way. And the reason why it not taste the same way is because we have to adopt the ingredients in terms of the sugar and the salt and the spices, not the spices, the additives in order to get them through and get them passed by food regulations here in the UK. You cannot bring Jamaican things as it is in the UK in bulk to sell in no store. That is, of course, I'm gonna regret it. But he looks like a walking zombie. But I want to tell you, say, the girl them I go for them. The girl them what I want them type, yeah, my loves. Them want these types. That is what them want. Yes. All right. Anyway, I hope you found this educational. I hope you learned something. I hope it's helped you to reflect. Certainly pass this information on to somebody who you know who is busy bleaching their skin. Get them to think in a different way by at least exposing them to the information. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about, you know, oh, I look better brown. It's also about what is it doing to your mindset? What is it doing to your identity? How does it make you feel about yourself? And why do you feel this way? Why can you not see beauty in dark skin? And why is it that you feel that doors will open? Because it's really not making a difference because none of these people who are busy bleaching, unless them in entertainment, them not getting any much further at all. You understand? It's not making their lives any better. If anything, they're wasting money and resources on bleaching just to look good in a one dance. Make it make sense. Anyway, people, Lady V, blessings, blessings. You come when I'm about to finish. But as I said, I really hope that you have learned something. I really hope that we're thinking in a deeper way when it comes to the use of bleaching creams, and that you realize that it's coming from something pretty deep and pretty sinister. It's not just about financial gain and looking pretty. It really is about destroying your identity and making you think differently about who you are as a Black person. All right. Big up on yourself, and thank you very much for joining class. I love it when class is this size. When it's like this, I know that it is my real people, my core people. Big up on yourself. I appreciate every single one of you. And yes, sometimes it's not about passa passa. We ain't got time for all of that. All right. Big up yourself. Like up the live. This is your girl, Teacher K. Bye bye.